Emily Harrison was born into the kind of life most people only dream about. The daughter of Charles and Victoria Harrison, she grew up with luxury all around her. Her childhood was full of private tutors, trips to Europe, and exclusive parties. From a young age, Emily learned her worth came from her family name. Charles, her father, was a stern self-made millionaire. Victoria, her mother, was grace and control personified. They raised Emily to be the perfect heiress. She was expected to marry well and uphold the Harrison name. And for years, Emily played her part flawlessly. She excelled at school and learned perfect etiquette. Soon she was engaged to Andrew Carlton, a successful banker. Their engagement was the talk of New York's elite. An extravagant party was thrown at the Harrison estate. Photographers lined the streets outside the mansion. Everyone whispered about the power couple in the making. But beneath the glamour, Emily felt trapped. Every smile she wore was rehearsed. Every conversation was just another script. She longed for something real. Something beyond champagne toasts and designer gowns. Something honest, unscripted, and true. One autumn evening, after work at her law internship, Emily ordered dinner from a small local restaurant. It was far from the usual luxury her family preferred. The delivery came quicker than expected. She opened the door to find a young man in a worn jacket. His name tag read, Jake Miller. "Dinner for Emily Harrison," he said softly. Emily smiled, struck by his simple presence. "Thank you," she replied, taking the bag. Jake looked nervous but friendly. "Long day?" he asked gently. Emily nodded. You could say that. Something about his honesty made her curious. He wasn't like the people in her world. Over the next few weeks, Jake delivered often. Each time they spoke a little longer. Small talk turned into meaningful conversations. Jake's sincerity made her feel seen. He told her about working multiple jobs. He supported his younger sister on his income. He had dreams that still felt distant but real. Emily was drawn to the contrast he represented. He wasn't polished or wealthy, but he was genuine. He made her feel human in a way no one else had. One rainy afternoon, Jake arrived completely soaked. Emily invited him in for tea by the window. They laughed and shared stories while the rain fell. "I've never met anyone like you," Emily admitted. Jake smiled warmly. "I never thought I'd meet someone like you either." Their connection deepened every day. Soon they began meeting outside of deliveries. Emily saw parts of the city she'd never known. They talked about their hopes, fears, and futures. But in every moment of joy, a shadow loomed over Emily's heart. What would her parents think of Jake? One evening after an emotional talk with Jake, Emily decided to tell her parents the truth. She couldn't live a double life any longer. The reaction was swift and brutal. Victoria's voice turned cold and sharp. "A delivery guy, Emily, how could you?" Charles was even more furious. "You're throwing away everything we built." They gave her an ultimatum. End the relationship or be disowned. Emily's heart ached at the impossible choice. She tried to defend Jake, but they refused to listen. After sleepless nights of crying and thinking, Emily made the boldest decision of her life. She chose love over legacy. Emily married Jake in a small chapel. No photographers, no luxury, just close friends. She wore a simple white dress and teared up during vows. Her parents cut all ties with her. No calls, no messages, not even on holidays. Rumors began to spread about Jake's intentions. People called him a fortune hunter. Emily ignored the whispers and stood by him. Life became hard, but honest. They moved into a small apartment. Jake worked long hours in delivery. Emily took part-time jobs and night law classes. They faced late bills and broken appliances. Exhaustion often threatened to break them. But their love never wavered. One night after a rough day, Jake had dinner ready by candlelight. "I'm proud of you," he whispered. Emily teared up and smiled. "This is home," she replied softly. And she meant every word. They found joy in little things. Coffee runs, old movies, and quiet evenings. Their perfect life kept growing. Emily volunteered at a legal aid clinic. Helping the helpless gave her purpose. Jake saved to start his own delivery service. They faced setbacks but kept going. Emily cheered Jake at every milestone. He bought a second bike and hired help. Yet loneliness returned every holiday. Her family never called or visited. Each silence felt like a wound reopened. One Christmas Eve, she got a text. It was from Victoria, cold and short. "We never wanted this. You made your choice." Emily stared at the screen in pain. She didn't respond, just held Jake tightly. "I wish things were different," she whispered. Jake kissed her forehead gently. "We'll build our own family," he said. one filled with love and support. Years passed, and Emily graduated with honors. She got a job at a nonprofit law firm. Jake's business slowly expanded across the neighborhood. They moved to a bigger apartment. Life was still tough but hopeful. Their daughter Lily was born soon after. Lily brought joy and laughter into their lives. Her childhood was simple but full of love. Emily often reflected on how different it was from hers. One day, a letter arrived in the mail. It was from her father, brief and formal. Inside was a check for Lily's education. No conditions. Emily showed it to Jake. He smiled and said, "Even cold walls crack." It wasn't forgiveness, but it was something. That night, reading to Lily at bedtime, Emily thought about all she had lost. And everything she had found. She had lost wealth and family approval. But she had found love, freedom, and peace. And she would never trade it back. One day in the park with Jake and Lily, Emily saw her mother watching from afar. Their eyes met, then Victoria turned away. Emily felt sadness, longing, and relief. Maybe the walls would never fall. But she had made her choice. She had married the delivery guy. And yes, her family never spoke to her again. But she wouldn't change a thing. Her story was one of courage, of choosing love over expectation, and finding joy in a life that was truly her own.